Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jared.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you in a champagne supernova in the sky. Jared, how are you, mate?
Solid quote, mate. Solid. That was real good.
I don't even know what
It
the lyric means. I just like the song.
is. I know. In my head, I just completely went into that song straight away. Then that was really good.
They are touring.
Really good. No, I've been well, mate. But have you ever noticed? I'm getting this lately, and it's happened to me quite a bit recently. When people sort of say you meet someone for what you think is the first time, and they say, "Where do I know you from?" And I'm finding that a harder question to answer these days because, I've got a lot of life experience going on and, I've been certain places and areas and I've met a lot of people along the way. Like when you were 20, it was a lot easier. It was like, oh, school, work, or that's it.
Yeah,
But maybe rugby. These days it's like, oh, man, it could be anywhere.
yeah.
But, yeah, I always find that I'm finding that a harder question to answer these days.
And did it happen to you recently?
Yeah, I got it. And then I got another one
Did you
actually
figure
at
it out though?
work because no, no idea. I always do that. Not always, but there's times where I'm like, yeah, I know you as well, like because I'm just trying to cover my tracks
Yeah,
because I don't. But I'm just trying to get some time to try and remember, and I'm racking my brain. And that whole start of that conversation or that meeting is just me just being in panic mode because I'm going, oh, I need to know this person. Like, or the other one is you meet someone and say, oh yeah, I work here, or I do this, or I played football here. And they're like, oh, do you know so-and-so? Like I should. And then I'm like, oh, no, I don't actually. They're like, oh, right, okay. And then it just goes on about that. It's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting older and forgetful, but I tell you, it's
yeah.
getting harder these days.
But that
We're
has actually happened to
moving
me,
on.
Jared.
Yeah.
I met someone just recently, like a month ago, and I was like, yeah, we've met, and we just looked at each other and we worked it out. It was at a funeral that we'd met. So
All right. Yeah.
it all came together, but it took a while for us to work it out.
Yeah. And that initial like minute is just like both of you racking your brains and there's no connection there. You're just trying to be polite or whatever you're trying to do to get through that. I don't know, not awkwardness, but whatever it is. it's it's an interesting one. And I'm not sure I'm a fan of someone leading with that, to be honest.
Don't I know you from somewhere? Just say, no, no, you don't.
No, I've never been anywhere.
This is the first face I've ever had today. Didn't have a face before this.
It's all right. It's all right. This is my first day. What about yourself, mate? You've been going well. We've had a bit of a break because just time and stuff as usual. But yeah, how you been?
Yeah, I've been really well. We went skiing about a week ago.
Mm.
It was amazing. We haven't been
Mm.
skiing since before COVID. So just to take the kids down there again, we had that uncertainty of not knowing whether they'd be into it. Fortunately, they loved it.
Really? That's
And
cool.
also, unfortunately, because it's the most expensive sport in the world, it's, oh
Mm.
my goodness. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's the
It's,
wrong sport for us, but it's amazing. And so we had a really
no,
good time.
no injuries. No one come back with any broken bits or.
My youngest son actually hurt his tailbone, and he said it was still sore about a week later, but he's walking around,
Mm.
he's okay. So I'm not taking him
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
X-rays and MRIs or anything.
Yeah.
He'll be okay. But yeah, look, I was really happy. The first 2 days I decided to snowboard because I hadn't snowboarded before, and I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. And I lasted 2 days, and I got somewhere, but I was like, you know what? I can already ski. I want to make sure I'm
Mm.
having a good time with my family, so I chucked it in for some skis. But the lesson I got out of it, and I was really proud of this, is that I'm actually still quite durable. At the age of 44, I had a lot of
Mm.
stacks, Jared, like a lot.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
can't
not,
imagine it wouldn't have been. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that. It was actually my eldest son was like, I thought you were deliberately falling like it was part of the technique that you were learning because you did it that much. He thought it was like a drill.
You're learning to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, oh no, it wasn't a drill.
Yeah. That was it.
Uh, but yeah, I was really happy with how durable I was. And a guy even collided with me. And he was really apologetic. And I was like, no worries,
Yeah.
mate. And I was fine. I walked off the
Wow.
mountain. I had no issues at all. So yeah, I was really proud of that. Like even at this age, I can take a hit and get back up and have no problems. Like I had no soreness afterwards, and yeah, next day I was fine to go again.
Look, look, without getting too deep into it, you're keeping yourself pretty fit and active, and one of your pastimes is jiu-jitsu, so Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, I mean, it's not like you're not. You are grappling and you are doing things. So your body's kind of used to it. But when saying that, when you're going down a hill at whatever knots you're going down that hill and
Yeah, a
crash into
whopping 13 k's an hour probably. It's not good.
it's still still got some got a bit of a hit to it. So that's good. That's good. I'm glad you all got back in one piece, and your learning to fall trip wasn't that bad. So
Thanks, Jared.
I found that funny. I actually find that really amusing.
Yeah. How to fall and waste money,
yeah.
yes. That you don't have.
The most expensive. No, that's But yeah, so I thought I thought of a topic only because of we've had a bit of time off, and in that time a couple of well-known people had passed away. Childhood heroes, Hulk Hogan, Ozzy Osbourne, childhood heroes for people, game changers, I guess, in their chosen field. I guess that brings up a lot of emotions. I don't really know, like I wasn't a big fan. I appreciate what Ozzy Osbourne did, and but I just wasn't a big fan of that music at the time. But as I grew older, I realised how much of an impact he had on that space. And then I'm a big wrestling fan, especially when I was younger. And Hulk Hogan was, the guy, right?
Yeah.
So to see him, looking back and watching those old matches and things like that, and realising that he was just a human man, but as a kid, he wasn't. He was a hero, an ultra, like a specimen that, was up on a pedestal. And just definitely brings up some sort of emotion that I think is worth having a chat about. And I just wonder if you felt that recently over those two particular passings, or in the past have you, it doesn't have to be anyone passing. It might even be a photo of someone that or a video of someone that you used to look up to, and now they're quite old, age gets us all too, So just wondering if you've had any of those feelings in the past or recently.
Look, the first thing that came up when you asked me the question just then was Jeff Buckley. So that's when we were in high school, and that was the first celebrity death that kind of affected me, because I was a huge Jeff Buckley fan. I still am.
Yep.
In fact, one of our old school friends who's moved to America just messaged me asking if the documentary It's Never Over is playing here in Australia. I hadn't even heard of it, but it must be playing over there in the States. And so that was huge for me as a kid growing up, because he was something special, and there hasn't been another person anywhere close to what he did, I don't believe. His music, his singing was incredible, and he was an amazing guitarist. He was actually a guitarist before he was a singer. He was incredible. So that really affected me growing up. And then after that, I don't think I really had any celebrity heroes. It was more just a sporting space that I really cared about. And a question that I had when I started getting older, like, transitioning into my 20s, was, what's it going to be like when my heroes are younger than me? Because we're always looking up to everybody. We looked up to, or I looked up to Stefan Edberg, Steve Waugh, Pat Rafter, who are all several years older than us. But then it was like getting to a point where, the footy players that we followed were younger than us, and Roger Federer was, several months younger than us. And obviously now, as 40-something-year-old men, all the athletes that we watch are younger than us.
Yeah.
So I thought, what would that transition be like? And it actually hasn't been tricky. I'm a pretty humble guy, and I know my time is over. So I look at the next generation now. But for celebrity deaths, going back to, the recent passings of, Hulk Hogan and Ozzy Osbourne, I think it makes you realize, just everyone is human.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter how big you are, larger than life or whatever, we're all going to die. And you know what? People stop talking about it. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
But you're the first person that's actually mentioned that to me at all.
These
two recent deaths. So in a year, who knows? These people might not even be spoken about at all, and one day no one will ever say your name.
Yeah, I know. That's humbling. It's humbling. But I bring back. I'll just go back to the start of where you were talking about Jeff Buckley, and you said, yeah, I don't want to say exact words, but you said that you think he was and he still is the greatest, But I had that feeling about, and again, I'll go back to Hulk Hogan wrestling, something that I liked when I was younger, and I still sort of watch a little bit now, but yeah, but essentially, it was when I was younger, and trying to, like, I was like, oh, he was the greatest. He was the greatest. And then watching it back, like, I had my kids with me and I'm like, oh, look at this guy change the game for this space. Like if he wasn't around, wrestling wouldn't be what it is. WWE wouldn't be what it is. And watching it back with them, they didn't have that same, feeling, because it's not about what was actually on TV. It was the feeling that it gave you, that person gave you, that celebrity, that sports person, that moment in time. I remember, WrestleMania 3 was when he slammed,
King Kong Bundy.
I was 7, right? Or 8 or whatever it was. And he slammed Andre the Giant. And like watching it back now, it was just two guys, it wasn't the most, exciting thing. Andre the Giant could barely walk. And, it was just this thing. But to me at that time, that moment was the most amazing feat that I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think that going back to the Jeff Buckley stuff, that music had such an effect on you at that time, that I think you're mourning that moment in time. Maybe we are.
Yeah, it's really important to see everything in its historical context. So that music today, if he came, who knows, if he came out with that today, it might not have the same impact. But the point is, music today is built on what's happened in the past. The Beatles coming out today wouldn't have the same impact, of course. And you could say that so many bands have surpassed the Beatles, of course, but they laid the groundwork, and it's really important to give people their dues. So in the case of Hulk Hogan, it was a strange time. That was during the Cold War, and it was the height of the Soviet Union American tensions. And he was this, you remember his theme song was "I'm a Real American."
American hero.
Yeah, and he had the crucifix around his neck, his 24-inch pythons, of course.
Yeah, eat the vitamins.
It was actually a propaganda piece. It was about American and Western supremacy. That's what it was about. And his enemy in the ring was Nikolai Volkov, if you remember.
That's right.
Who was this bumbling buffoon, with the Soviet Union flag. So there was a reason why he was built up. And there was a reason why the public got behind him. It was like, because, the West is better than, the East. And that's what made him who he was at the time. And you couldn't have that today.
No.
Jarad, it sounds like you feel like there is a need for heroes in this world. And there is a natural part of us that just wants to look to something for, whether it's guidance or even just something to believe in. And that's what someone like Hulk Hogan did at the time. Like when you're a little kid during the Cold War, it was this symbol of hope. And as ridiculous as it sounds, a guy in his undies running around with these massive boots with this crazy hairline who looked like he was 70 years old when he was actually 35. That was a crazy symbol of hope. And I feel like we do have a natural instinct to look to somebody, especially now, as older people, we would have had elders to look to who were really responsible, but we live in a world of celebrity. We don't have our local chief anymore who we look to for guidance, who's seen it all and is connected spiritually to the earth. So, who do we look to? And when you mention your girls, listening to Spotify or whatever, and I'm always concerned about who my kids are looking up to. Because we really lose control of that at a certain age. There's a period where we are their heroes, but that time has definitely passed me. I'm not my boy's hero, that's for sure. So I am concerned about what influences come into their lives.
Yeah.
And with social media, you can get influenced by anybody.
Anybody. It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, and you look at some of the toxic influences that have happened in mainstream culture now, it's a real wonder how they got there. Now, I'm not going to mention any names because I don't like to start internet beefs. So I'm just going to I'm just going to leave it there for any listener to go, yeah, how did that, so and so get to
Yeah,
this
yeah.
position of influence?
They'll have their own thought on who that person is.
Yeah,
Or people are. Yeah.
exactly. So I think it's really important for us to have some critical thinking skills about the character of
Mm.
these celebrities.
I think we as adults have that. Like you said, we have that now, and I guess our heroes are few and far between. Whereas, as our kids, like you said, they can see and influence, and they can be, tapped into a lot more easier than we were. Everywhere you look, there's a streaming service, and there's all this, stuff that I don't understand as a 45-year-old male.
Now, Jared, having said all that, I've got to give credit to where it's due, and there's some really great young people out there who are doing awesome things. And someone who I've become a huge fan of is Yannick Sinner. I know he had his doping controversy, and I do believe his story, probably because I want to. But he seems like he's a really genuinely nice person. He comes from a genuinely nice family. And
Mm.
he and Carlos Alcaraz, who I'm also a huge fan of, who are both, like half my age, basically,
Yeah.
have, really taken tennis to another level. And they're absolute gentlemen. So I
Mm.
really value that, and I feel like they're worthy of my praise.
It sounds like you value, like, the tennis is one thing and the skill set, but it sounds like you really value the person, and I think that's something that we have access to these days is the personality, whereas I don't think we had the access to that in the 80s, 90s, where, we saw those heroes on the TV, or we saw those heroes run down the football field, but we don't have that anymore. That was it. That was it. You didn't know what they did behind closed doors. Now we have so much access to these guys, and they have to be on all the time.
Yeah. Do you want to know what Hulk Hogan and your 80s footy stars were getting up to behind closed doors? Because I sure as hell don't.
Nah, and I think there was a TV show called Hogan Knows Best. It was a reality show, and there's been a lot of stuff that happened after that he sort of unlaced the boots that I won't get into, but I definitely don't want to know.
Yeah.
There's some things that are meant to be, inner thoughts that we don't need to know.
Yeah, you're right about how much access we've got to these people and how that's changed our perceptions of them. We didn't know people's political opinions in the past,
Mm.
and it just wasn't important. You never even thought about it, who someone voted for or anything like that. And now, especially in America, it's a huge part of their personality.
Yeah, it's definitely forefront in their bio, when
Yeah,
they're introducing themselves.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know, it's for better or worse. I think, they say don't meet your heroes, and I kind of am of that opinion. I'd
Yeah,
rather not know too much about them. Like if I find an artist that I like, it's like, that's enough. I just want to know about their music. That's it, because everything else is going to ruin it for me.
yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
It's that I think that might be a discussion for another day about the access we have. Maybe we've already sort of touched on it a lot throughout our sort of series here, but yeah, we've definitely got more access to our heroes, and it takes um, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to be on all the time and available, and it would be really, really hard work, because we all have bad days and low days and super happy days and whatever, emotional days, and these guys, some of these people out there that are on show all the time and are our kids' heroes, and maybe some of our heroes now, current heroes. Yeah, they're definitely working hard.
Yeah. And I think that is the messaging for our kids that, these people are really, really good at this particular skill set that you like them for.
Mm.
Just keep in mind they are just human beings and they will have their days.
Yeah, and that's what it all comes back. And I think you said it right at the start that watching these two icons, learning of their passing over the last few weeks, and the word everyone's human. Everyone's human, and sometimes you have to be reminded that the people on the screen or the people you're looking at on your phone, and they're all humans that they go through the same stuff as we do, yeah, that is a good reminder for our children and even for ourselves, that that's the case.
Yeah. And of course, living in a different kind of world really could warp your whole perception of what reality is. And I
Mm.
guess you've got to scale it a bit. You've got to be, look, they're a rock star. You've got to expect them to behave like that. It's just how it is. Or, they're a billionaire. They don't have the same concerns that you do. I get why they did that.
Mm.
But it also shows that, well, maybe we shouldn't be worshipping people. If they are really just human, then maybe we
Yeah.
need to look elsewhere. We need to look at, I guess that's why we created these superheroes, people like Superman that we could look up to.
Fictional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And I think going through this conversation now, and I think, I'm sorry if I'm rehashing anything, but like, I think you just have this, I think we're a bit more wary. So I can't sit here and tell you if I have a hero right now. Like my heroes are closer to me.
Yeah.
They're people I know. They're all heroic in their own way. Excuse me. They're all heroic in their own way, and they all have had an effect on me. Sorry, as a human throughout my life. So for me, heroes, as I get older, maybe heroes become closer, and you can touch them, and you can talk to them, and they are around you. I feel like maybe that's where we all head. But
Yeah.
we still remember our heroes from our childhood. I guess that's what the point is.
Yeah. I think I'm in the same direction as you, Jared. The people that I look up to, the first people that came to mind for me when you started saying that just then was a particular family who've had to deal with the death of their daughter at a young age.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, they're just one of the most beautiful families I've ever met. Just a class act. That's the way I've described them many times. And to me, that's heroic. Now, that doesn't mean that I think these people are absolutely perfect or anything like that, or that they're demigods. They're human beings like us. But I really respect that, and I really look up to them for that. Another person that popped into my mind was the sister of someone with a disability who is just an absolute rock that holds a family together. And that was the second person that came to mind. So again, do I think she's perfect? I don't know enough about her. And it doesn't matter. What I respect her for is something that's very easy to see. And she clearly is a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
So they're the things that I really respect. And I'm glad that it's in my personal life. I can see it up close because it just gives me more and more respect for these people.
Yeah. Well, I think this kind of led us in a direction I wasn't sure it was going to go, but I think we got through it pretty well. Like, I'm not sure where you're sitting on that, but I think we delved into childhood stuff and then sort of into what it's like as an adult and then raising kids throughout this space. I think we covered a lot of topics here.
And look, we ended up back with ourselves, with our, with our tiny little lives, which is where we find our true heroes. And there's just so many people to admire who are around us. And I went to a party last night where there were a lot of people with disabilities. There were a lot of families there together, family members with disabilities, and it was just a beautiful mix. It was just a really inclusive place. There was just so much respect. Everyone spoke to each other just so kindly, and it was so much fun, Jared. And that sort of thing just makes me feel like the world's okay. When we can treat each other like that, when we can look at each other like that. And there was just so much admiration on my part. These people were just all such cool people. And my youngest son was like, everyone there was so nice. And I love that he said that.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And to me, that's like, he's got people around him to look up to because they were just kind.
Yeah.
Kind and
they're the
inclusive.
heroes. They're the people that you want your kids to look up to, right? So
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The world's all right when you meet people like that. That's for sure, Jared.
Sounds like it. Seems like it. Yeah.
Jared, thanks for joining me. Sorry about such a long break, everybody. We've been busy because that's just how life is, but we'll do our best to try to get this back on a regular schedule. Jared, have an awesome day, mate.
You too, mate. See ya.